Hi, I'm Matt Levenhagen, founder of Unified Web Design, UnifiedLabs.ai, and the host of the Builders Podcast. Here on the Builders, our goal is to uncover the first principles behind building businesses, products, and services. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe or follow wherever you're listening. And if you find value in our content, a like, share, or review is always appreciated. Let's dive in and explore the roots of innovation and progress together. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another The Builders. Today, we are joined by Carolyn Pritchard and Lorie Spence. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Matt. We're happy to be here.
Hi, Carolyn. You can say hi, too.
Hi, Matt. Thanks for having us. We're excited. Looking forward.
I'm excited to have you. It's not too often that I have multiple guests on at the same time, so it's always fun to do that. The dynamic's always great. So both of you are co-founders of Bridge Medical Communications. And if you want to first start this out by just maybe spending a minute, I'll throw this to you, Lorie. If you want to just take a minute and just tell me what you guys do over there, what Bridge Medical Communications is all about.
Absolutely, Matt. So as you mentioned, Carolyn and I are co-founders of Bridge Medical Communications. And what that is a life sciences communications company. And really what we look to do is provide innovative solutions that look at really empowering healthcare providers, enhancing point-of-care interactions, maximizing life cycle execution, prioritizing patients, and, advancing therapeutic pathways, all with the goal of increasing patient outcomes. And we do this as an agency on behalf of our clients, which tend to be biotech and pharmaceutical clients.
Awesome. I have my wife's in healthcare, so she's going to love listening to this one. She's been a nurse for decades. She's actually a phone nurse now, so she works at home. So she's right downstairs. But that's awesome. So, with that, the next thing we like to do here, now we get a kind of understanding, what you're doing in the world. Individually, if you want to tell a little bit about your story, spend, a couple minutes. Again, let's start with Carolyn. We'll start with Carolyn. I'm going to jump back and forth. If you want to just tell a little bit about yourself, kind of your origin story, how you got into both, business and what that journey looked like, and how you landed into, healthcare, how you met Lorie, maybe.
Absolutely. Thanks, Matt. So similar to your wife, I did a nursing degree, and it was from, graduating and not being able to get a nursing job at the time. Back in the 90s, it was, tightening up on those resources. So I worked in a contract position for a number of different hospitals in the operating room. And I met one of the surgeons had a gait analysis company. And I was intrigued by that and had this desire to, do more than working in a hospital. And so that's where I would say, established working in private business. Knowing that I really wanted to work in the biotech pharmaceutical industry. Again, it was difficult to get into. So I worked for this gait analysis company until I was able to secure a position in an agency that was more of a marketing agency. And at the time that I was working directly with pharmaceutical clients. And so I think at that point, I really felt like, it was an opportunity for learning different skill sets in business. I worked in marketing for a large company. And then I got to a point where I wanted to do more, just constantly be doing more. And so that's where I went back out into the agency world and met Lorie. And about 14 years ago, we started Bridge Medical.
Oh, wow. 14 years. Okay. So you've been together for a while. That's awesome. So you were doing marketing. So you're doing it for like pharmaceuticals and stuff like that. That was the marketing you were doing.
Yeah, so that's with a nursing background, that's how I established some business and marketing skills, um, was through experience.
That's the best way to learn. So, okay, let's that's awesome. Let's talk to Lorie now. Well, let's tell us a little bit about yourself.
My journey into Bridge is a little bit different than Carolyn's. My background is in communications. And with that, I worked for a large communications company after graduating. It was in the time of the boom of healthcare. And so I kind of got this bug for healthcare. And I wasn't sure if that was true or not, but I did work at a consumer agency for a little while and realized the healthcare side just had more purpose, and everything we were doing was tied to giving access for patients, really looking at ways to improve physician knowledge, education. And so my original trajectory was just to be in communications. I kept persevering through the healthcare side, and then I went back to do my MBA because I thought I should have that to go. And at the time, I thought I would go and work in private side, so work for pharmaceutical and biotech. And the one thing about doing an MBA while you're working is it's very practical versus being only in curriculum. And I was able to really apply that to the work I was doing. And that was when Carolyn and I were working at a global agency together. And in doing that, it really opened my eyes to what the opportunities were for really moving into the entrepreneurial space and looking at what we could do as a business venture of our own. And that was when we decided, to jump and go into our own, as Carolyn mentioned, 14 years ago.
Yeah. So communications, like what would you be doing in communications? Like what type of, like that's kind of a broad.
So PR, so public relations, events, communication documentation, educational training, anything that was tied to what you would be speaking to a healthcare provider about.
Okay. And what attracted you to healthcare? Just the impact you could have or the.
Absolutely. What attracted me to healthcare was, when you're working in a consumer public relations agency, it seems a lot more fun. And, you're maybe working on a lot more creative brands like Pepsi or something that has like that pop in it. But I think when it came to the end of the day, it was working on something that had more purpose for me. And that was where I tended to lean with my purpose, was into that healthcare setting.
That's so important. I mean, Carolyn, you same thing. You is that what attracted you to like healthcare and stuff?
No,
that purpose
I would
and be able to.
I would say my mother really suggested that I become a nurse so that I always had a job. And
Yeah.
she was going through the recession in the 80s, and so I think it was security, and my grandmother was a nurse. But I think as I, entered into it, I did get passionate about it, and it aligns to my personal values.
Okay. That makes sense. It's funny. The reason why I laugh is because, I think my wife is the type of person that she's always known what she wanted to do. Like right out of school, she went right into, studying nursing and then became a nurse. She's always just done that thing. I think she has some regrets. I don't know if she loves nursing that much, but, but at the same time, it's like, and there's been a few times I'm the entrepreneur in the family, right? And there's been a few times over the decades that we've been together. She said, "Can't you just get a real job? Can't you be more stable?" Like, yeah, it's interesting. So this is great. So I already see some alignment here with you two coming together. And I can't miss the opportunity here because, like I said, I think I said, I don't talk to co-founders on the same podcast. I've talked to them separately, but not on the same podcast together. I'm very curious about that dynamic and what makes a good partnership, because obviously probably all of us have seen them fail and work. And I've had a few partnerships over the years. Sometimes they do okay, but sometimes they go off the rails and it just doesn't work out. Maybe I'll jump back to Lorie if you want to kind of speak to that. Like what did you see? how did that relationship form? Obviously, you were working for the same agency, and you're probably solving a lot of same problems in the same fires, doing a lot of stuff together. And how did that form? And how did you? Uh, and then maybe I'll send it back to Carolyn to talk about how you decided to do this project.
Absolutely, Matt. So when you think of co-founders, it isn't really something that comes to mind when people think of the entrepreneurial model. And as you mentioned, it's sometimes tainted with the failures. That's what shows up in media and social media. However, when Carolyn and I decided to venture out on our own, I think the appeal of the co-foundership was a little bit more unique in that we looked that it wasn't just complementary skills, it was things that our passions were aligned. And so in setting up the business, it was really about looking at what that would be, what would be our roles. And so it's no different than any other partnership that you have, in your life, of figuring out roles and how to start that. And we created a model over the years to guide us. And I think that's what was a little bit unique, in that we just didn't go with a carte blanche and not have a plan, because we found very early that you needed a plan. And I think it's very, haphazard that people will go, well, I'm very good at this and I'm very good at that, and it should work. And we know the shoulds don't always work. And so having that plan was really critical for us.
Yeah. And Carolyn, like, how does that look for you? Is it pretty much mirror what she's just saying here? You just kind of, it felt right. You had the same passions you had. And then how did you, make the decision to, or what was the catalyst? Like, you're working for this agency, and then, like, you saw a problem, you saw something that you wanted to solve together, and like, let's do this. What attracted you to the entrepreneurship itself, or spinning off your own business?
Thanks for that question, Matt. I think that, when you've worked in big corporations and as an entrepreneur, you probably can appreciate this, but when you work in big corporations, and especially on the agency side, there's high demands for continued growth, and it's really a localized market. And so in Canada, I think Lorie and I felt that with our combined experience, that we had the knowledge to be able to go out to the marketplace. We knew what the customer valued, and we could provide that. I would say that, as co-founders, Lorie, discussed how we had a business plan. And it was thanks to her, going and completing her MBA, that she had these skills to be able to lead. I think we found as co-founders, our expectation was also that we were going to divide up, and it was going to be equal. I think until you get into the operating of the business, you don't really know what that's going to look like. But certainly for the first initial years, we were both all in, and providing, as much contribution as possible to get it off the ground, which I think that's both people have to be aligned.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Like, I think back to a couple of partnerships I've had where I feel like I could be learning from you, because there's a lot more to a partnership than just bringing two people together that have complementary talents and things they're going to bring to the table and do on a daily basis. And it's more than just the money aspect. For me, it was like, I think back, like, there was certain partnerships, I'm like, I should have spent a lot more time, like, getting to know this person and making sure that personalities and our life visions were aligned on some level. We came together because we saw that we could probably leverage each other's what we do and do better and make more money. But at the end of the day, that's why they failed, probably because that caused a lot of problems, not knowing the other pieces. So that's what's interesting here. You have a similar vision, you have similar, just passion for what you're doing, and you're in the same space. And then, so what did you specifically identify as like what you're doing today? Like what's the bridge between what you were doing? You saw an issue in the marketplace, or that you could build something you could build a business around. Because a lot of times when we start a business, it's like we see a pain point or something that you think you can solve, that it's a big problem, and you see people struggling, and you want to come to their rescue and do something. What was that for you, Lorie? If you want to start.
I think the pain point that we saw when we started Bridge, and our goal was really, as Carolyn mentioned earlier, is offer a solution to Canadian customers in the marketplace. And that's where we wanted to be a boutique agency. We weren't planning to be, competing with the large international organizations. And, that's sort of what we also feel Bridge's unique aspect is that we can be really innovative, customizable, and iterative. And that it was really born out of being small, flexible, and being intentional with what we did. And that's sort of how we've continued to maneuver and grow over the number of years, and, bring in new offerings and things as the marketplace keeps shifting. Because what was, when you think back 14 years, what was the opportunity then is kind of long gone. It's, looking at what's ahead the next 5 years is where we're at. And so I think in healthcare, it ebbs and flows, and you're always looking at a 5-year projection. But at the end of the day, we really feel that it's our, excellence in customer service, our innovative solutions, and being able to provide our practice knowledge of the marketplace that really brings value to our customers. And, we have a large network of stakeholders and providers that we work with, that we've been able to curate over the years. So that's another advantage that we bring. Versus those global agencies that maybe don't have all of those relationships and activities nailed down.
Okay. So what was the first problem we solved, Carolyn? Like when you first set up the business, like what was the first thing you were focused on?
From a growing a business perspective, sales is always, I think, something that Lorie and I both also share a passion for, and probably a unique ability that we have is that we partner on most of our sales. So we go out together and are trying to help our clients identify what their biggest challenge is so that we can provide a solution. And I think, Lorie's very strategic in her guidance, and I'm probably more of the operational, execution side. So that's where I think we have our strengths complement one another. But again, to your point, it's not just about the complement of what you can do; it's how you're doing it together.
Yeah. So do you remember your first client together? Do you like what you did for them and what their challenge was? Because it sounds like what I'm hearing is everyone's different. Like you get a new client or somebody you're going to help, and you're listening to, just like I would, like I'm in the web design development world. Yeah. Like when I have a client that needs a website or something, or they're having issues, it's like it's always different. Each time it's different. Like, everyone has different focuses or different problems.
Lorie probably has a better memory than me.
I think one of the first things that, we were really trying to solve is, it was at a time when we launched, you probably heard the phrase, like the patent cliff was coming. And so, a lot of the, therapeutics were kind of coming to end of life cycle, and the competition in the marketplace to, demonstrate value with a therapeutic was significant. And companies really needed to bolster those engagements and relationships with providers to understand better, what was driving therapeutic decision making, what was, patient preferences. And I think that's where we just really moved out of that tactile, it was beyond messaging and data driven discussions to more of the practical. And I think that's the big shift Bridge had, was we went into the practical discussions and moved away from just those traditional, here's your data, here's your key messages, and how do we get it out? And that was a unique offering that a lot of our clients hadn't seen. And that was something that we were able to offer, just as we mentioned earlier, because of our knowledge and skill of the practice in the marketplace.
So you're still probably looking at the data. You're still looking at
Absolutely.
analyzing all that, but you've figured out. Can you give me an example of what you mean by practical? Like what kind of practical thing you're doing?
Sure. A practical application of the data, and I'll maybe bring this forward to today, so it's a little bit more pragmatic.
Okay.
But, when you're thinking of therapeutic decision making, and one of the things, as I mentioned, that we're really about empowering providers and ensuring that patients are engaged in that decision making process, which is a really new space to be in. And we'll do things like develop applications for physicians, and they're developed based on the data to help them be able to identify the right therapeutic choice based on patient, criteria, their preferences. And so it allows them to use an algorithm based on evidence-based medicine. And so those are ways we're trying to bring the practical into that point of care opportunity.
So it's really just about the actual impact, the actual applying this in your day-to-day working with patients and stuff like that. What other things do you do at Bridge?
Well, I think, one of the things that excites us, and when you're talking about building earlier, we started our passion project, I think, this year, and it's called Empower Her. And what that is a female health conference that was focused and led by female practitioners. And in the audience and attendees were all female practitioners focused on female health topics. And I think that's where Carolyn and I really are excited to be in our stage of our business and our careers, that we can start to be able to bring these initiatives forward. And it wasn't something that we could do in those, first 5 startup years, but it's something that we can do now based on the relationships we have, our ability to network and bring this forward. And it's really something that we love to give back on, but has a valuable impact to both providers, practicing, but with that focus on women's health. And we're, excited as female co-founders to be able to support something like that.
Makes sense. So that's interesting. I think about those early days, like, when you're in a startup and you have to work around the clock and work really, really, really hard, a lot of long hours, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of challenges, and some wins along the way. But that's all at the end of the day. Those years you put in is worth it, because now at this stage, you're able to start maybe extracting yourself from the business a little bit, maybe focusing on some passion projects and things like that. So it does pay off. That hard work pays off.
I have a few memories that always that pop into my head when I think about the early days. One is, setting up, at that time, we would fax providers. And I remember, setting up the fax machine, standing in front of that fax machine for hours. It sounds crazy now, and it's one of those things that ages you, but it's true. And then another time where the project didn't go as planned, and you have to go out and face the consequence of that. I think over time, for entrepreneurs, you're building confidence and you're building your experience. And you're right, Matt. Now, you can anticipate a little bit, probably better than you could in the early days, what could go wrong.
Yeah. And I think about it in the context of just personal, like people say, you got to work on yourself first. You got to work really hard on yourself, because that's the only way you're going to help others, is to first fix yourself, first work on this thing. And it's the same with the business, to if you really want to have impact and you have a vision, you want to do something positive in the world, you have to first build it. And the building's not easy, but if you can, I would imagine maybe you can speak to this. During that building, did you always have the vision, like where you wanted to, like what, did you have some kind of like 5-year, 10-year roadmap? You wanted to get to this place, and this is, and so you can do things like this, focus on women's health and stuff. Was that always in the back of your mind and help drive and motivate you every day?
We've always had that 5 and 10 year plan and vision, Matt, and it doesn't mean it's hasn't been a curvy road, but I think that was one of the things that we needed to have this like agreement to, and allow all of our business decision making be tied to something like that versus a little bit willy-nilly and emotional decision making. So that was really important. And I think, as you know, those first startup years are really about being able to create the foundation for growth. And those are kind of those little ladder up steps that growth takes. It's not that nice hockey stick that everybody likes to show. But that was really where we wanted to be. And we wanted to have something that had impact at the end of the day, but we knew that wasn't something we could grow right out of the gate. And you had, as Carolyn said, you had to have a lot of those foundations in place. And it was interesting you talked about working on yourself, because one of the things that Carolyn and I are big proponents of is our own professional development, and which is probably very unique for co-founders. And, we support each other in that. And it's very different for both of us as well. And so I think that's what also keeps this curiosity and idea, innovation and ideation going for us as well.
So in the years now, you've been doing this for 14 years, same business, been together. I mean, kind of going back to the partnership, I keep thinking about it. I think about other partnerships I know about and the challenges that then can sometimes be there is sometimes the challenge can be just life happens. One of the partners is struggling with something, and suddenly the other partner is picking up the slack for a while. And did you ever experience anything? You don't have to go into details of what happened, but did you have those type of experiences where, and then somehow that foundation that you created in the beginning, where you aligned on more than just money and and skills that come into play there?
We definitely have had some of those situations. Carolyn's laughing because I think even our unique beginning, when we launched, we were at kind of different stages of even our lives, like one entering, into a marriage, one exiting, even those kind of things, dealing with different things. But I think it also gives you the empathy for each other, but also space. And I think that's the balance of having a co-foundership is, if you are a sole entrepreneur and going through those things, your business would probably take a little bit of a fall down. And the co-founder model allows to have, somebody to have that back while those are happening. And I think that's the real advantage that's there.
That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, I'm solo and like I worry about that.
That decision making, as a co-founder, I feel that we are constantly, discussing and making decisions. And I think that other person is as invested in you as you. So it's, I would say that we work through and make decisions together. And we've certainly tapped into external resources to assist with that when things are difficult. We're not going to sit here and say that it's been, a dream for 14 years. Absolutely not. There are times where, we've had to have other people to come in and help coach and guide us.
Okay. Yeah. That helps. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because we're kind of circling back. I mean, we work on ourselves, but we're also working on this relationship right
yes.
here. these
Yeah.
two people in front of us right now have their life things happening, have their own personalities, but it's just like a marriage. You have to work on the marriage, and sometimes you do have to bring in a coach to help you through that. And I think, with a takeaway from this part, what we're talking about here, hopefully, if I can think of some takeaways, one of them is just it's a partnership isn't perfect. It's never going to be perfect. It's not like two pieces that are just going to slide together. Everything's going to be great for the next couple decades, and we're going to make money. We're going to have fun. We're no problems. But I have a feeling that most co-founders, most of those type of relationships have their ups and downs, and there has to be something, some kind of spark there, some kind of connection there that keeps you together and keeps you coming back together and working on those things. And you have to be dedicated. You have to care about each other. That's what I'm hearing.
I think it builds over time as well, because I think you do have to have fun together. And in our business, we did and still have business travel. And so we try to do that together so that, there's an opportunity for that personal connection as well. Because in our business, the day to day is busy. Not a lot of time for that connecting. But I think
So that makes
yeah,
a lot of sense. So you have to make time to,
yes,
go to the
definitely.
Bahamas or something, or
I'd love
Exactly.
to add Bahamas to the list.
Yeah.
well, there you go. I just gave you an idea. That's
Yeah.
your next trip. So tell me a little bit more about the this what were you doing for women's health? I have a note here, but I can't read my writing.
I can give you a bit of background, but this was really an initiative, inspired by Carolyn. And I think that's when you're talking about the complement. She really wanted to do something in women's health. And what I was able to help her do is give her the structure of how we could do it. And she's ran with this. And it's a brand that we created under Bridge for an opportunity called Empower Her. And it was a female health conference for female health practitioners. And it was so successful that, we were able to go into 2026 with that. And Carolyn's also got an oncology version coming this fall and some other assets. So I'll let Carolyn even tell a little bit more about it.
Well, I think, Matt, when you were talking about the planning, the 3 year, the 5 year, I think, when you're working in an industry and it is a very dynamic industry and things are constantly changing, but I think we are also as entrepreneurs looking for that next challenge, that next opportunity. So I feel that Empower Her is feeding that desire, but it's aligned to our core business, and that's where Lorie keeps us very focused. And there is a momentum right now in all of North America in more of the menopause space, but women's health tied to that. And I think we wanted to differentiate. We wanted to take it broader than that and not just focus on, midlife, but women and diversity and, what can we do to contribute to improving women's health. There are surveys showing that there's a need here. So this is the problem that's out there that Bridge Medical and Lorie and I, as co-founders, are providing a solution for. And, I'm excited about more opportunities within this Empower Her to see where we can, add additional value.
And when I hear words like excited, like this sounds like something you're really passionate about. This is you've built this. You built Bridge as kind of that's like your foundation now, your framework to do all these other amazing things in the world, which is really cool. And the fact that it's aligned to what you're doing. Sometimes you think about doing other things.
Oh, I always. I always bring things because I love fashion and I like other, anyway, so I'll come to Lorie and she'll say, okay, how about just stay focused, and
That's
but I
important.
think but I think this is one where with our women's health summits, we've been able to involve different sponsors. So we're looking in the femtech area. There's a lot of startups in that area. And to
Femtech.
see
What's femtech?
femtech is again in healthcare. It's technology to improve women's health.
Okay. I don't think I'd heard that term
So
before.
I think that's why I get excited because it's, the next 5-10 years, there's going to be a lot more businesses coming in and with products for women's health. So yeah, I think
That's awesome. And there's one other thing I wanted to kind of just dive into here, and then we can um, wind things down a little bit. But one of the things I think I heard you say a few times is relationships. Like is that relationships in building bridge and the stuff you're doing now with Empower Her and stuff like that. How is think about building businesses? I think about my business, whatever. My business is heavy on relationships. I wouldn't be able to do what I do today if I didn't have the connections I've made and the people out there helping me do what I'm doing, or and it's vice versa. I'm helping them as well. But speak a little bit to what relationships mean to you in business and what you're doing. Maybe I don't know who wants that one,
I can
Lorie.
start. So one of our core values is collaboration, Matt, and that is really networking and relationships. And they have been very critical to the success of Bridge and also to Carolyn's and mine as well. We've had a lot of great clients that we've worked with and still continue, physicians and providers that we've been engaged with. And I think, we're really believe too in that you need to give to get. And so that's really something that we like to put forward is we're not just fostering these for our own just self-interest. It's for the bigger, group. And so I think that's really something unique about the way we look at relationships. And networking is probably Carolyn's favorite thing besides fashion. Um,
love it. I,
Yeah,
I,
you love.
I love going to events. So that's another thing that I think inspires entrepreneurs, is getting exposure to other activities out there, probably monthly. And I use social media. It feeds me, activities. Just signed up for one in October called High Vibe Women. And so I think the networking is, as Lorie said, it helps in the overall healthcare because we're collaborating with stakeholders and providers and industry and regulatory, and there's so many partners involved. But also for our business, we've been collaborating with universities and providing opportunities for postgraduate placements and co-op. And I think these are critical in the business world and in academia today, that they get experience before they graduate. So this has been, I think, also assisting with resourcing in our business and connecting to find new talent. Lots of opportunity for collaboration and networking.
That's awesome. That's good. It's a good thing you enjoy that and you love that. It's well, I think about businesses. Like we want to be successful. We want to grow a business, whatever we're in. But it's not just transactional. It's just like I'm just going to get some. I'm going to do this thing, and they're going to like it. They're going to pay me for it, and that's it. But underpinning though, like you really to really grow a strong business, you need to grow strong partnerships and have good relationships out there. And maybe it's not always obvious how you're helping each other or whatever, but you're putting it out there.
Yeah.
and putting the positive energy out there, helping other people, and that comes back to you, which is awesome. So I mean, you're doing, so what does the horizon look like for you? We've mentioned a few times that we do look 3 to 5 years ahead, 10 years ahead. Do you have are you going to continue to just evolve what you're doing already with Empower Her and Bridge, and just keep doing more in that space? Or do you have any other ideas down the road, any other passions you're going to, Lorie, what's your next passion?
Yeah, I think, when we look at, as we said, in our next 5 years, we're really looking to, foster a leadership team that could work under Carolyn and I. And I think that's really going to be critical for us to be able to continue to look at these different opportunities like Empower Her, look at different markets. Obviously, we love the opportunity to do more global work, which we're just, scratching the surface of that. But still in the realm of what is our unique offering. And we're really trying to capture all the trending areas that are coming into healthcare, but sit in our wheelhouse, whether that's AI, whether that's, innovative medications, the female, lead and led areas as well. So
it's exciting. Carolyn, you got anything to add to that?
I think we also have a passion for supporting, and giving back to young entrepreneurs. So, I think networking and looking for people that are interested in being a co-founder is a place that Lorie and I, we both have coaching backgrounds as well. So, I think that on top of our core Bridge medical communications business, that's going to keep us busy for 10 years from now. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, you both have a lot of potential. there's a ton of, and I could talk about business for hours, so don't mind me. I am gonna wind this down. But I the leadership part of it too could be a whole conversation.
Yeah.
Because as we talked about, like all that hard work up front of a startup, your those long days and nights and weekends and whatever, the ups and downs of the partnership and all that. But at the end of the day, you clearly understand that you have to build the leadership team under you if you want to do more stuff, and to help you manage the businesses you've already created. And then to do more amazing things in the world, you need to have people you trust. You need to be able to develop leaders within the organization and all that good stuff. It sounds like you're doing all the right things. So that's awesome. So with that, if somebody wants to learn more about what you do and they want to maybe connect with you, do you hang out on the World Wide Web somewhere, on the LinkedIn's, on the X's, or wherever? Where's your favorite hangouts, and how can they reach out to you?
I'd say LinkedIn is probably one of our favorites. We do post on a regular basis. And you can find us individually there. And we also have a Bridge Medical Communications LinkedIn as well. And an Empower Her we can connect with us through that or the website.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for spending the time with us today, Lorie, Carolyn. It was nice getting to know you, nice getting to know your story, and hearing about all the great things you're doing. So until next time.
Thank you, Matt.
Really appreciate it. Bye for now.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Builders Podcast. One more quick note about our sponsors. At Unified Web Design, we're passionate about doing better together, partnering with agencies and businesses to deliver exceptional web design, development, and ongoing support. And UnifiedLabs.ai is where we explore smart, practical ways to integrate AI directly into your website and e-commerce flows. From intelligent chatbots to marketing automation to back-end reporting, all with a strong focus on user experience and making your systems work smarter. If you haven't already, subscribe or follow to stay updated on future episodes. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, sharing it with someone who might benefit helps us grow this amazing community. Until next time, Keep building smarter, bolder, and with purpose.